With an understanding of how color temperature works, we can now adjust some settings in 3ds Max to get good renderings. My light is currently selected and I've got the modify panel active. And remember, I chose the template of a 100 watt bulb. So let me scroll down here a little bit here and you will see under color we've got our color temperature displayed here. So 2800 degrees Kelvin is the nominal color temperature of an incandescent bulb. And we have a little swatch here to indicate basically an approximation of what that color would be. By the way, if you wanted a colored light or a light that had a gel or some sort of translucent material over it, you would either model that translucent material and create it with an MR Arch and Design material and have that sort of filter the light to get the color that you want, or you could adjust this color swatch here. But what you wouldn't want to do is push this Kelvin value into some other strange value. In other words, if I wanted to put a green gel over this light, I'd actually build a green gel, or I would adjust this filter color and make it green. I would not go and mess around with this because this is a photometric value that's supposed to be physically accurate. So it should be basically left at whatever the light would be in the real world. Good. So we see 2800 degrees Kelvin here, and that's because I chose the template. Over in our environment and effects, note this, white point. So this is the color of white light that the camera is expecting to see. So in other words, if I was sending out light at 5600 Kelvin here, then the camera would see that as being white. So just to show you this, if I did put in 5600 here and press enter, now we're getting perfectly neutral white in the viewport and our renderings. All right, I'm going to send that back to 2800 because we want to be physically correct here. So that just goes to illustrate that the white point should match the color of the lights. So just like with a real camera, when you're indoors, you set your camera to indoor. When you're outdoors, you set your camera to outdoor. The basic settings that you would use in environment and effects, there's really two that you would use most commonly, because we're going from the convention of existing real-world cameras that basically have two settings. You have indoor and outdoor. This is the outdoor setting, 5600. If I set this to the indoor setting, that would be 3200 degrees Kelvin, and press enter. So now we're seeing a very slight orange cast to the scene. And that's what we would really see if we illuminated the room with an incandescent bulb and photographed it with a camera set to indoor light. So that's pretty much physically correct. Now you can still cheat this. This is what you would achieve if you were in the real world, but here in the digital world we have more freedom. So we can cheat this. We could actually set the white point to whatever we desire. I could set it to 2800 and we're back at exactly perfectly neutral whites in the rendering. I could push it in any direction. If I wanted this to be extremely orange, then I would set this to be a higher value like D65, 6500, and that's an extremely orange color. I don't think that looks good, but I'm just trying to illustrate to you that it's possible to do so. So it's the differential between the white point and the lighting in the scene that causes this tinting. And sort of counterintuitively, if I had a very low value to the white point, if the white point is lower than the Kelvin of the lamp itself, then we're going to get a blue cast. If the white point is high, then we're going to get an orange cast. And if it's right on the money, we'll get perfectly neutral whites. Now, if you're in a mixed lighting setup, you'll also probably need to cheat. So for example, let's say you had, light coming from outdoors, which would be at maybe, 5600 or maybe 6000 degrees Kelvin, and you simultaneously have an artificial light in your scene that's maybe at 2800 Kelvin, then you could either pick one of those and sort of let the chips fall where they may, or you might split the difference and set the white point sort of between those two. Every lighting setup's different, so you're going to have to experiment, but at least now you know how to do it. So that's the importance of white point. Usually I sort of follow the convention of using real-world numbers, and that breaks down to, again, if it's an indoor scene, 3200 degrees Kelvin. If it's an outdoor scene, 5600 degrees Kelvin.